All right, welcome back to The Buzz, everybody. I'm your host, Chuck Leonard. Today's musical guest was Jim Lyons. I've been meaning to sit down and talk with him for a while. Bring him in, Billy. Jimmy, how's it going?
Just fine.
Always good to see you.
It's
Thank
always
you
good to
for
see
doing
you.
such a great job today on the show.
Thank you. Thank
Now,
you, Chuck.
We don't get to sit down and talk much. When you come
No.
on the show, you come in, you set up, and then you leave. And when I see you out and about, you're usually playing somewhere. We don't get to sit down and talk. So let's relax and talk a little bit. Where'd you grow up?
Well, I think it's best to say I grew up everywhere because it certainly wasn't any one city or anything like that. I've lived in 26 major cities in my life.
Why?
Because I'm a traveler. Not anymore. I've been in Fresno now, stationary, for quite a few years now.
30 years, right?
Oh, no, I've lived here longer than that.
Okay.
But I mean, even while I was living here, I wasn't living here. I was in Vegas and Reno and Tahoe and everywhere else. But Fresno was always home. Palm Springs was in there for a while. That's a bad gig. You don't want to do Palm Springs.
A little windy, huh?
That's a lot of things.
Jimmy, you said was your father in the service or
Yeah,
something?
he was in the Army.
And that's why you moved around
Career
so
Army.
much?
Yeah, we were just dependents, and we moved wherever Papa went. We couldn't go everywhere he went. When he went to places that were not safe, overseas and war zones, etc., we didn't go. But anywhere else, my favorite time was living in Washington D.C. at the Pentagon, or near the Pentagon. I could see the Pentagon.
No kidding.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And so, but other than that, I just when he was no longer in the service, then it was my turn. I enlisted, and then mine was all about travel.
Well, wait a minute. You were in the service?
Well, of course.
You were in the Army?
I'm a veteran. No, I was in the Air Force.
Okay, you're in the Air Force. And what year did you sign up?
I don't want to say that because then they'll think I'm old.
In the
But
60s?
it was in the 60s.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you joined the Air Force, but not to be a pilot.
No, I joined the Air Force actually to be a pilot, but I couldn't be a pilot and I couldn't be an engineer either. That's when I found out that I was colorblind.
Oh.
Yeah, the test that they give you at doctor's offices now they include the colorblind test, but they didn't back in those days. And it isn't until they give you that colorblind test that you find out that even if you know the colors, it's because that's what color you were taught.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that that's the color you see. If someone tells me this is green, I believe it's green.
What do you see?
But I may not see the same thing that you do.
So you're in the Air Force, and you can't be an engineer, you can't be a pilot.
So I was in supplies.
So they put you into supplies?
They put me in supply.
But did I understand that this ended up to be a pretty good gig for you?
Yes, in this case, I supplied automobile parts for all the Americans that were in Europe, but they're driving American cars. They need parts. They can't wait for them to come from Detroit or wherever. So they have the same companies that we have in America. We have obviously overseas, and I was the go-between, the middleman. You're the civilian, or even if you're
Enlisted
an enlisted person, but you have a
Civilian car.
Chevy car, I get the parts for your car overseas. It was an organization called CAPO, Consolidated Auto Parts Procurement Office.
Wow.
And that's where I worked. But the office had to have an office location, so it happened to be at the embassy.
At the
So-
American Embassy?
Well, actually, it was the American Consulate General, is what they call it,
In Europe?
in Antwerp, Belgium. And that's the job I got. You better believe that was a cushy job. However,
Were you in uniform?
that's it, no uniform.
You didn't have to wear a uniform,
No
just
uniform.
street clothes?
Belgium is a neutral, just like Switzerland country. They want American presence there, but they don't want it obvious how many soldiers are there, how many airmen are there, whatever. So most of the enlisted people and the officers in Europe are not wearing uniforms.
Wow.
They're wearing civilian clothes.
That's got to be fun.
It was fun because they gave me a clothing allowance to buy civilian clothes, which was suits and ties. That's how I first started wearing suits and ties. And then I didn't want to quit after I got out. So I still, to this day, that's what I consider my uniform.
Now, were you playing music then?
No, not at all.
At all?
Had no idea I was even interested in music.
So at what point did you become the Jim Lyons that I know?
I came to Fresno. I was here for a while. There was a guy, he doesn't live here anymore. His name is Dennis Houlihan. He was a guy working on Channel 30, and about 100 other. I used to joke because he had 11 jobs, but he was a musician. He played down at the Fresno Falcons hockey games, and from 1973 to 1974, I sang the national anthem at every one of the Fresno Falcon hockey games.
How'd that come to be?
That came to be because the guy that was supposed to sing, one day, I don't think we were drafting at that time, maybe we were, but he took off for Canada. I mean, literally right in the middle of the week, no announcement, no nothing, just left for Canada. And I was a friend of Dennis, and he asked me, could I just substitute just the one time?
Why? Because you guys are friends, you're around, a good song comes
That's
on the
right.
radio, you just start singing a little bit. Hey,
Yes.
he's a pretty good singer.
Yes, and that's exactly how it happened. And so he said, one Wednesday night, I believe, could you sing the national anthem at the hockey game? I didn't know it involved walking out on the ice. I had no idea. But luckily, they put a little red carpet out there, so I walked on the carpet, and I did it so well, they said, well, how about next week? The funniest thing about that whole thing, that's 2 years of singing the national anthem. There was no pay, but there was 4, or maybe it was 6, free tickets to the ice hockey. So I didn't have 6 friends, believe it or else. Stop it. So after they gave me the tickets, I
You stop it.
wanted to give them to 6 people so they could get into the hockey games free. They were standing at the box office. I would butt in front of them and say, I can get you in free. Just what's the No one wanted those tickets. The hardest part of every hockey game was giving away my 6 free tickets. I kid you not. They just said, why would you do that? Why would you give me because that was my pay.
So you're singing the national anthem at
Yeah.
the Falcons games. When does the keyboard come in?
The keyboard came in after I'd had several bands. I started singing after that. People invited me to sing at their weddings. I didn't have a band, so I just fiddled around on the piano enough. I mainly was singing and kind of fiddling around on the piano. Then after a while, I actually learned how to play the piano. And so it worked out. I used to work for $25 and a slice of wedding cake. And then I raised my price to $50, and then I raised my price to $100, and no matter how high I raised it, they kept calling me. So I made up a little business card. Then I started singing in little places around town, and then I got my first real job at the what was then the Hilton downtown on the 9th floor. Put together a band called American Expression, and we played up there for I don't remember how long, a long time. Right after that, we played at Pardini's restaurant there at Shaw and Van Ness for about, I don't know, 2.5 years. And then I thought I was big shot, so I took to the road, put a band together, and we traveled all up and down California for 17 years.
Wow.
17.
What's the name of that band?
American Expression.
What kind of, was it a funk band?
No,
R&B?
we did, I would have to call it what we call a Vegas band. In Vegas, everything is kind of a variety
It's a
show.
yeah.
Yeah. So we would take ordinary songs, or I would, and more or less
Show 'em up?
Show 'em up. What's that new Bruno Mars thing? We're gonna
Funk it up.
No, we're gonna show up. We're gonna show out. So we'd show up, and I'd show out. I used to change clothes twice during the show, or every break I changed into another costume. In those days, I was dressing kind of like Elvis. I had the flare pants.
I've seen you dressed a lot like Elvis.
Well, no, I mean,
I
yeah.
wish I had a picture to show you guys that didn't make it to the Elvis show at the Fulton 55. Jimmy Lyons in the full white jumpsuit.
No, but I used to love that. A lady, in fact, made me shirts with the extra large collars on them when I first started doing that, and it was just fun. He was the easiest person to imitate. If
Are you an Elvis fan?
Oh, I'm a huge Elvis fan. Yeah, I do about, I don't know, 10 or 12 Elvis songs, and I enjoy doing them. I enjoy performing them. I enjoy them much more with a band behind me than trying to play them on the piano. You can't get that rhythm and the feel.
You gotta be the front man.
And of course, there's no way they can film me below the waist. Remember Ed Sullivan? they had him on camera, but everything had to be above the waist. You could still see what he was doing.
Yeah.
It was disgusting.
Jimmy, people that have seen you today that want to go see you around town, tell them about some of your standing gigs.
I have two what we call standing gigs. They're called steadies.
Is that what they call them
yes.
now?
When I do it once in a great while, it's called a casual.
Okay.
It's a steady. But I have two steadies, one on Thursday nights at the High Sierra Grill House. That's at Bullard and West in Fresno, in the Pavilion West Shopping Center. Then the other one is at the a beautiful, beautiful restaurant, inside and out, the Palms Restaurant on Friday nights. That's at Palm Avenue and Alluvial at the intersection there. And it's a great... both shows, even if the same music is played, they're completely different. Completely different crowds.
Because the setting.
Yeah, the setting is correct. I'm usually seeing mostly strangers, or people from out of town, or visitors, or local people are taking friends of theirs, family, relatives. They're in town visiting. It's the weekend. They want to take them out to a nice dinner. They take them to the Palms. So I see a lot of people I've never seen before, but it's a different atmosphere, more casual. At the High Sierra Grill House, it's mostly people, I can name everybody in the room, and that's a lot of fun. So they get together to talk, to visit, and everything, and they request songs, and I bring chocolates. That's what I don't know. I started that one day, and now I have to do it. It's a great expense. I don't know what I spend on chocolates every month, but 7 different kinds.
Of course you do.
Not just one, just 7, a variety of 7 chocolates. And then I have some what we call hard candy. Remember, my grandmother used to have that. And then it doesn't deteriorate. But in the summer, or even in the warm months, even now, I have to carry the chocolate to work in a refrigerated little box so it doesn't melt. All right, we have to take off. Jim, thanks for coming on the show. It's always good to have you.